But the next thing I just want to get really quick on is, so my friend kind of gave me the heads up about 4 or 5 days ago that Biden pardoned um, marijuana possession. I don't know if you know much about this because I think it just came out. But so my understanding is that at the federal level, he pardoned um, marijuana possession charges. And I looked this up a little bit. So it looks like the maximum penalty for this is $1,000, but also it can come with 1 year in jail. I don't think that
Hmm.
means everybody gets 1 year in jail, but I think
Sure.
that's the maximum you can get. And I guess the number I saw was six. This should impact about 6,500 people between 1992 and 2021 that have simple marijuana possession charges. And again, coming at this from the cultural manipulation angle, I'm also seeing that this may have been kind of timed because the midterms are coming.
Oh
And
yeah.
so,
I was gonna make that exact point.
yeah. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on um, Biden doing this. Do you agree with it? And also, the timing of it. And maybe there are two separate things. Maybe you agree with it, but you don't like the timing, or maybe you're just good with all of it. I don't know, but
I mean,
I'm
I think
interested
it's
to get your thoughts.
yeah. I personally think it's well overdue. The fact somebody has to go to prison for marijuana, or is still in prison for marijuana, is absolutely ridiculous in my mind. I mean, sure, if you're trafficking it, that's one scenario, right? But if simple possession charges, no, sorry. I mean, there are people let out of jail for far worse than that. I mean,
Well,
give
and
me
it's
a
not a
break.
crime anymore, so people
No,
we've got people in jail for something that's not even a crime today.
exactly. That's just yeah. I mean, our legal system, our justice system is just upside down and backwards on so many things. I mean, sure, there's a lot of things you could argue are done well, but there's so many things that they do still do today, and they, you know, I mean, that's a whole nother road to go down. But that you're just like, the contradiction here is just astounding. I mean, it's just like a kick in the nuts when you hear some of these things, and yet they're doing this over there. So yes, I think it's just well overdue. I'm glad they did it, frankly. I mean, does it affect me personally? No. But I don't think that's something somebody should have to have their life ruined for.
Hey, okay, so we got disconnected there, but I think we're back up and we're good. So we'll just jump right back in. I Do you remember where you were at?
Man, I don't know. I was probably going off on some distant tangent, but I mean,
Oh,
yeah, I think what we were talking about um, the I don't even know what you called it. They're the pardon basically for marijuana charges. Is that right?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I guess, yeah, well overdue is a summation of what I was saying. But the other part of that is there's been a lot of things that have been conveniently coming out with regards to the midterms, and that's one of them. I mean, look at what's happened. That the student loan forgiveness was another big one leading up to the midterms. Um, on that topic, and this really goes back to the cultural manipulation, component to all this. Look at the different media talking points over the last 3 or 4 months. Um, I mean, we don't need to get into them specifically, but I'm sure if you think back, you'll think of what they are. And every single one of them seems to point towards a kind of drumming up that voter base to get out in November and vote accordingly. Now, I have my own reservations about the credibility of our election system, but I would say this much about the whole that whole notion there. So now imagine, if you will, if because okay, let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back to like middle of summer when gas prices are $7 a gallon, more in some areas. Yeah, well more than that, I think, out west. Groceries are skyrocketing in price. Inflation is skyrocketing in price. What do you see during that time? You see an incredible amount of unpopularity with the current administration, or perhaps even the whole Democratic Party. Um, I am not partisan to either. I probably personally align more with the Republican Party if I had to put a tag on it, just because I'm more conservative minded. On some things, I probably align more with the Democratic Party, but that's the beauty of
Yeah,
America,
no,
right?
I
You can be both
I
ways.
think everybody's gonna have something that they agree with both sides.
Right. And you should. You should never look at a group of people and say, I agree with everything they say or do by default. No, you
No,
should
yeah, you should.
scrutinize everything that they say and do because you we are here to keep them in check, or at least we're led to believe we are. But anyway, I think what you were seeing in the summer was it was really, really looking like the Democratic Party is just going to get crushed in November. I mean, even CNN and MSNBC were reporting on this. So, what do you see then towards the end of summer? All of a sudden, we have no inflation somehow, is what they're reporting. Gas prices do go down. Um, you know, they've got student loan forgiveness. Now they got this going on. And all during that whole time frame, some of the key issues were being propped up by the media to almost, I don't want to say like, um, I hope if anybody listens to this, forgive me for my words. I'm going to say weaponize their voter base. And I don't mean like all of them are like these, getting out in the streets and, ready to burn the place down. I mean it from the standpoint of if you can create fire around those key topics when you have an otherwise maybe stagnant or voter base that maybe they're going to participate, maybe they're not, but all of a sudden, those key issues are in the limelight. And now you have these other things that are saying, yeah, we're here for you guys. We're doing this all because we're great. Guess what? You're going to have a better turnout at the elections. Now, that's another conversation because I think there's a element to this where they're still unpopular. I still don't think they win in a legitimate election. And when I say they don't win, I mean I don't think they still retain the House and the Senate after the midterms. But I mean, there's enough questionable activity with regards to our elections, and there has been for quite some time. And the same people that are saying there's election integrity were complaining about the lack thereof a decade or two ago. So, I mean, give me a break, pick a side. But I think,
Yeah, exactly.
that they can use these things. So if they were to manipulate an election in some way, shape, or form, well, then it doesn't look quite so obvious. Because guess what? They've got the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And right now, the squeaky wheel is all over the media. Um, so that's kind of my take on that, right or wrong. I mean, I hope I can't prove, obviously, me personally, that, elections are tampered with. But I think there's been plenty of activity that would suggest that there likely is. I mean, the fact that, you had people like Louder with Crowder, which is a fantastic show, by the way. They're humorous and so on. But they were going around in Detroit this last, maybe it was last winter. I can't remember. I mean, within the last year, we'll say. But they were going around in Detroit to the addresses of people who supposedly voted for our beloved Joe Biden. And where their addresses were like in empty parking lots, industrial areas with no homes. I mean, dead people. You know, like those are provable things. Those are things you can actually wrap your hands around and say, yeah, this person did not vote for that person, like with 100% confidence. But yet that's not talked about. And I get those
That's like a
are just,
tale as old as time
yeah,
kind of a
oh,
deal.
totally. Yeah, totally. And I just raise that point. I mean, I still want to believe in America. I still want to believe in the value of our elections and the people that vote in them. And if it's truly the will of the people that elects whoever, then so be it. I pretty much disagree with Joe Biden on every single issue you could probably imagine. Um, but when he was elected president, I had this conversation with many people. I said, you know what? I will support him because I want America to succeed. And
Sure.
if he puts policies in place that does so, awesome. However, he's not doing that. I mean, what do we name one thing we have going for us right now? Oh, you didn't want Trump in because you didn't want mean tweets or nuclear war or, I mean, all the talking points that they threw out. Well, guess what? We have record gas prices, record inflation. Basically, we're in World War III and very much staring down the barrel of a nuclear weapon right now. Crime rates are skyrocketing across the country. I mean, you tell me one thing that's going on right now that we can hardly say this is great for America. Name one. I can't think of it. Yeah, I mean, the whole, letting people out of jail for ridiculous marijuana charges, yes, that's a good thing. And I'm sure you can find other things in there, no doubt. I mean, I know for a fact I've seen things that they've done and I've been like, great, I'm glad they did that. So I don't want to make it sound like everything is bad. I'm just looking at the macro level on the world stage and asking myself, where are we going as a country? And it's not super promising if we're being honest here. I mean, you know, go even whether it's your local grocery store or a supermarket in a city. I mean, go look around. Prices are high. Some of the goods you're usually used to getting there, whether it be meat or milk or whatever, might not find there some days. Might find them others, but clearly you are seeing a um, kind of a pinch in the supply chain because of all of these things. And, this whole notion of, well, we got to get rid of, fossil fuels. What are you trying to do? You are going to cripple America and the global economy by doing that. Well, we've offered more drilling leases than any other previous administration. Yes, you have, and you've offered leases on land that doesn't produce oil. So it's just a talking point. Where's the fruit of all of these things you're doing? You've shut down some of the key infrastructure pipelines in this country that are, I mean, energy is everything. Energy is the source of everything we do, whether it's in the human body or driving a truck down the road to get you the groceries that puts that energy in your body. And all of these things are coming together in one massive snowball, and it's going to come crashing into a wall. And I don't see, I work in the agriculture industry and I know what these guys are putting in cost wise. Now, the ag markets are up right now. Like they're making money because prices are good. And that's great because their costs have gone up by 2, 3, 400% in some scenarios. I mean, there was a report out here in Wisconsin of a grower, and they have, I forget, it's this massive diesel fuel drum. And they fill that once a year. It runs their farm for the entire year. And in 20, see what have been 2020 or yeah, in 2021 it cost them like ten or $12,000 to fill that entire drum. It cost them $30,000 to fill that this year. Now you translate that across to what your groceries are going to cost, your livestock, your meat, and things like that. Farmers cannot weather that type of storm longer than what they are now. I mean, I've talked to my dad on this. We farm in Nebraska, and we have had a pretty candid conversation. And he said, "Oh yeah, we're kind of set up. We can deal with it right now. But next year, if this stuff is continuing, fertilizer prices are up like 500% because most of the fertilizer is sourced from Russia and Ukraine. We're not getting that now. I mean, these things have very much real world consequences. And so going back to this notion of electric vehicles and stuff, that is going to, I mean, look at what California did in August. They're the ones that said by 2035, there will be no more electric vehicles in California. And I can't remember if that was sold or period, but either way, they've established a timeline there. That's the same state in the August that said, hey, you can't charge your vehicle or you can't turn on your air conditioner because our power grid ain't going to support it. So
Okay,
you're
so
telling us, like, you're going to turn off the spigot for fossil fuels and you're going to tell us we can all charge our millions and millions and millions of electric vehicles on a power grid that already can't sustain it? And what is
okay,
fueling
so
our power grid?
I think a
Sorry.
moment ago you said there'll be no electric vehicles in California. Did,
Oh,
did
I meant,
you did
yeah, I meant
yeah,
gasoline slash diesel. Yeah, my bad. Thank you
okay.
for catching
No,
that.
I wasn't actually sure. So I wanted to make sure I got that right. So they're saying so your point there is that they're saying there's going to be no fossil fuel or gas vehicles in California by a certain year. Did you say 2025?
I thought it was like 2035
Oh, 2035.
is what they said.
But
So,
then you're also making the point how they always have rolling blackouts and
yep,
they have energy problems
yes,
and their cars are now going to be sucking a lot of energy when it used to come from gas.
yep.
Yeah.
It's
So I've never
unsustainable.
yeah, no, that's true. I was in California about a month ago traveling for work and we were writing in an office having a conversation and my partner is up there writing on the blackboard with a marker and all of a sudden the lights go out. And I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And they're all just kind of chuckle, and then 30 seconds later they pop back on, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's just we do that in California. We kind of have systematic turn off everything for a second and recharge. It's like a." And then they all laugh like that way we don't get a blackout, you know. And I guess it happens like every
Just
hour.
normal. Wow,
Yeah, like so that was just hilarious.
that's
Um,
crazy.
and it was like a pretty good sized office that we were in, and I
Yeah.
guess the whole building does that like on every hour.
Wow.
And it was only like 30 seconds, but still like kind of funny.